It's time to change our way of thinking. We need to step back, and I mean way back. Our very survival could be at stake. So, between pandemics, rising food costs, instability in the food industry, people need to learn how to survive and look after their loved ones more than ever. I was wrong about something for many years because I was caught up in what I saw as success, as progress, and just keeping up appearances with friends and family and neighbors and such. And I want to come clean about this and explain why. So many years ago, I was dating a girl from Trinidad, and her father was very, very excited to be finally traveling back home. He still referred to it as home after like 25 or 30 years or something like that. And he was so excited because he was going to see his childhood friends, a lot of his family members that he hadn't seen for so long. And so this was a big thing for them. This was a big trip. So when I was asking him about the trip, he started going on about the fact that everybody had sod now. His childhood homes where he grew up, there was always gardens. There was gardens in the front lawn, in the front, there was gardens in the back. Everybody had gardens, and now everybody had sod. And I can still hear his accent, the way he was saying sod, with such disdain. He hated the fact that everybody had sod, as if it was something for them to be so proud of. And listen, I didn't see a problem with that. I saw it as progress myself. If you've been following my stuff at all, you'll know that I have some property in the country, and I come from a farming background and a fishing background, and I love doing yard work. I love cutting the grass. I post about it. I'm cutting grass on the weekends on the tractor. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love doing yard work. Now, going back to when I was a kid, my mom always had a garden on the go. She grew everything. She grew cucumbers and tomatoes and potatoes and beans and everything else, carrots. We as kids would steal from that garden like you wouldn't believe, because that's what kids do. But my mom always had a garden on the go. And she would make things, canning and jarring and everything else. She'd make jams. It was such simplicity. I want to share a story with you that was shared with me recently by an elderly gentleman in the East Coast. He's a distant relative, actually. And he's a fisherman who grew up very, very humble. They didn't have a lot growing up. Historically, a lot of individuals from the East Coast were fishing in the summer. They could fish for cod. They would fish for lobster, of course, clams, different things, mackerel. But when EI came in, not right away, but years after, things changed in a lot of these towns. Everybody had gardens. Everybody had property, so they had very large gardens. Maybe one neighbor would grow cucumbers, another one would grow peppers, somebody else would grow tomatoes. Everybody grew gardens and would assist each other with some of the gardening because they didn't have a lot of food in the wintertime. It was just kind of survival. It's the way they grew up. Again, I'm talking many years ago. But everybody had a garden. And if you didn't grow something, your neighbor would, and you would always exchange. Well, after people started collecting EI off season, within 20 years, half those gardens were gone. They were gone. They just disappeared. Nobody wanted to put in the work anymore to have to grow and to look after those gardens. Why? Because EI provided a way. They were getting money where now they could just go to the store and buy some of the supplies that they needed in the wintertime. It was paid for. They didn't have to work so hard for every bit of food. And he said that it was actually very, very sad to see. And it's something that happened gradually, that only if you grew up there and you understood how it was many years ago and then maybe left and came back, you would really see, you would understand the change that took place. But a lot of that just disappeared. They had gardens for survival. They grew things for survival. And even now he was telling me that a lot of folks just stopped gardening altogether, and now they lease out their land. Or just like this gentleman from Trinidad, it's sod, and they cut their grass. It's sod, acres and acres of sod. The current system, in terms of gathering our food that we have right now, we should not be paying what we are for food right now. And what's worse, the chemicals that are used in some of the food products that we consume on a daily basis. And I'm talking about the vegetables as well, things that are grown, not just the processed foods, but the vegetables. The chemicals that are used in the food it's incredible. So where am I going with this? We all need to get back into the mind frame, myself included, back into the mind frame that progress doesn't necessarily mean a well-manicured lawn. People need to learn how to grow, to get back to the basics. This gentleman on the East Coast, he was telling me that more than ever, the way he sees things going, he's not completely cut off from reality, very well educated into what's happening out there. People, it's going to become a necessity very, very soon in this person's opinion. And I think I actually agree with him for a variety of different reasons. Children need to see where food come from. Children need to see their parents or guardians growing things and this process. And I know how hypocritical I may look or sound making this video because I've been part of that. And I walk down the street, I walk down the sidewalks, I admire people's well-manicured lawns, and some people will sit back in their lawn chair and admire their lawns themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people have worked hard their entire lives, and that's what they want to do. They don't want to garden so much. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with walking down the street and seeing people garden, seeing tomato gardens and carrots and pickles and everything else that might be growing. There's no shame in that. And I remember not too long ago, somebody at my workplace mentioned something that I had some dirt under my fingernails, even though I washed my hands and scrubbed. And you know what? I was kind of proud of the fact that I had some dirt under my fingernails because I didn't just sit behind a computer and play games all weekend long. There's nothing wrong with that hard work. I think people need to get back to it more than ever. What do they need to get back to? Just like her father from Trinidad. Progress was not sod. I thought it was at one point too. Many people do. But there's nothing wrong with getting back to the basics. I think it's what has to happen. I'd love to see it happen more than ever. It's not just a hobby. It's survival. Listen, if you enjoy this content, please consider liking this video. It pushes it into the algorithm so more people see it. If you like the content, please subscribe to my channel. A lot of these video ideas I get because of the comments. If there's something you'd like me to cover, I read every single comment and I respond when it's appropriate to do so. So listen, folks, thank you very, very much for making it to the very end of this video. And until the next, be safe out there, look after one another, and perhaps we will see you again.